Shakey's Pizza is a pizza restaurant chain that started in 1954. Thank you for your suggestions.
You wouldn't believe all the things going on at Shakey's. It's lighter. Ooh, it's brighter. Ooh, it's got an incredible salad bar. But wait, there's more. Like Shakey's delicious fried chicken and mojo potatoes, munchy, crunchy chicken and crisp fried potatoes, all at an irresistible price. This offer's for a limited time, so you better get moving. They're not moving.
Shakey's 9 pieces of chicken and mojo potatoes, now only $6.99.
Shakey's Pizza was founded in Sacramento, California on April 30th, 1954 by Sherwood Shakey Johnson and Ed Plummer. After having suffered a case of malaria during World War II, Johnson earned the nickname Shakey. When the time came to open their first restaurant, both owners decided to name the franchise after Johnson's playful moniker. Both owners dreamed of creating a restaurant in which families could not only eat, but one that could offer vibrant live music reminiscent of a bygone era. During a time in which live music and sit-down dining remained largely separate in public establishments, the culinary experience that Johnson and Plummer created stood out. Dixieland jazz bands and banjo players combined with costume staff to create a lively atmosphere of 1890s frivolity. Johnson, a banjo player himself, encouraged subsequent Parlor owners to offer live banjo-infused tunes as well. Indeed, for decades to come, old-timey piano melodies and banjo strums offered a lively backdrop for pizza outings. This 1890s theme reminded me a lot of Farrell's ice cream Parlor. Like everything else in life, Johnson treated his shakes with humor and did not let the infirmity keep him down. Partnering with Plummer, the two opened a small hole in the wall at 57th and J Streets in Sacramento, California, serving beer and providing live entertainment. The entertainment was mostly Johnson, who played Dixieland jazz on his piano. With the profits from the first few nights, Johnson bought pizza makings for his patrons. The beer, pizza, and jazz went over big, and word of Shakey's spread beyond the Sacramento area. As more money rolled in, Johnson expanded the menu, and Plummer furnished the Parlor with an eclectic mix of items from old-fashioned checkered tablecloths to goofy, irreverent signs on the wall. As the popularity of Shakey's grew, Johnson and Plummer opened a second pizza parlor in Portland, Oregon in 1956, and then decided franchising was the way to go. The partners began selling franchising rights in 1957. A few years later, as Shakey's pizza locations began opening in cities up and down the West Coast, a young entrepreneur named William Bill Tilley was looking for an opportunity to get into the food service industry. He had created a company called Jackmar in 1960 to oversee his interests and was looking for opportunities. Tilley set his sights on opening his own Shakey's franchise and signed on with Johnson and Plummer, opening his first Shakey's Pizza in 1964. In 1967, by the time Johnson decided to retire, there were more than 250 Shakey's locations in the western United States. Johnson sold his half interest in Shakey's for $3 million to Colorado Milling and Elevator Company. Plummer reportedly sold his interest a year later for triple the price. The first Shakey's outside the United States opened in 1968 in Manitoba, Canada. Shakey's began international expansion as the nation's first franchise pizza chain, which would later be emulated by chains such as Pizza Hut. Shakey's charted new territory in the American restaurant world. The restaurant offered pizza, beer, and live music, a formula that proved as successful as it was simple. The restaurant offered a whopping 21 varieties of pizza as well as several Bavarian beers. Yep, the chain began to suffer after both Johnson and Plummer sold their shares to the Colorado Mining and Elevator Company in the late 1960s. By the 1970s, Shakey's old-time appeal had attracted to the interest of an oil-rich Hunt family. The Dallas-based Hunt Resources International bought Shakey's Pizza, Inc. in 1974. The chain had more than 300 locations throughout North America and had spread from the California coast all the way to the Midwest. The following year, Shakey's went global with new restaurants opening in Asia. The concept proved wildly popular as new Shakey's pizza parlors opened across the Pacific Rim. Stateside, the food service industry, and the pizza segment in particular, had become hugely profitable. Shakey's enjoyed major success and was for a time, the nation's largest pizza franchise with over 400 units. It was also the first pizza restaurant of its kind, offering fun, food, and music, and appealed to the kids and parents alike. Yet the very aggressive Pizza Hut, owned by soft drink giant PepsiCo, became a powerhouse, rolling out locations nationwide. Smaller regional chains began popping up, and some started cutting into Shakey's bottom line. Round Table Pizza, a fellow West Coast chain, and two Texas-based franchises, Mr. Gatti's and Pizza Inn, gathered momentum and planned to open new locations in and around California. Aside from pizza, Shakey's was famous for their fried chicken and mojo potatoes. By the 1970s, Shakey's had become popular with families and youth sports groups in Southern California. The long row of picnic tables, end on end, facilitated large groups. Youth sports teams would go to Shakey's after their weekend games where kids could eat pizza and have fun. And the parents could drink beer and socialize. The advertising motto for Shakey's was, "We serve fun at Shakey's, also pizza." One of the features of Shakey's was its large windows between the dining hall and the kitchen. One could order a pizza and then watch as the dough was prepared, sauce and toppings added, and then pizza slid into the oven. Kids enjoyed watching the process and running to tell their parents when the pizza came out of the oven. The 1980s brought a new double-edged threat, the advent of delivery and two direct competitors for Shakey's family-friendly fare. Delivery was less dangerous to Shakey's than Showbiz Pizza Time and Chuck E. Cheese. Shakey's had always been relaxing and enjoying a meal in a comfortable, eclectic atmosphere. Sales was not severely impacted by the wildly popular Domino's Pizza, but Showbiz Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese were attracting kids in droves. To ward off competition, Shakey's updated its restaurants, added more menu items and buffets, and increased the fun quotient for kids with more games and amusements. Unfortunately, Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese was newer and bigger and became the rage. Shakey's did, however, offer something Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese did not have at the time: parent-friendly perks such as alcohol and jazzy music. Shakey's was also fortunate in another way. Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese were too busy competing against each other, giving the older pizza chain a little breathing room. In 1984, the Hunt brothers agreed to sell Shakey's after the company had failed to bring in a profit on sales of $162 million for the fiscal year. Two of Shakey's largest franchisees, Gary Brown and Jay Halverson, bought the ailing pizza chain of about 300 restaurants for $17 million. The new owners closed underperforming stores as Shakey's struggled to keep even a tiny slice of the pizza market. Within 5 years, after many Shakey's locations had closed to their rivals, the franchise company's American Holdings, which numbered about 215 restaurants and reportedly had sales of $130 million, was sold to Singapore's Inno Pacific Holdings, Inc. Under the ownership of Indo-Pacific, the Shakey's chain expanded exponentially in the Asian market, but domestically, the number of restaurants shrunk from 221 locations in 1989 to around 63 locations by 2004. Indo-Pacific Holdings was far more interested in the Asian assets than the franchisees in the United States. At this point, Shakey's lagged far behind Pizza Hut and Domino's, as both had thousands of locations and revenues in the billions. Other pizza chains had grown by mergers or acquisitions, such as Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese becoming CEC Entertainment. In 2004, franchisee Jackmar, owned by Bill Tilley, bought Indo-Pacific's U.S. holdings, 63 Shakey's locations, for $4.5 million. Indo-Pacific held on to its own Shakey's restaurants, which numbered about 200 in Japan, the Philippines, and Singapore. While most of the stores had closed or bought out by rivals, Jackmar's restaurants, which was the largest franchisee with 19 locations, remained profitable. Most were centered in the Southern California area. After the acquisition, the chain went about remodeling both the inside and outside of its eateries. Shakey's wanted to return to its roots, playing on the nostalgic style of the original Shakey's restaurants with checkered tablecloths, silly signs, and staff dressed in striped shirts, bow ties, and straw hats. As of October of 2018, there were 51 Shakey's Pizza restaurants in the United States, 48 of them located in California, with 47 locations in Southern California and 2 in Washington. The last location, east of the Mississippi River in Auburn, Alabama, closed in April of 2019. Today, the chain has about 500 stores globally and around 58 or so locations in the United States. Currently, the stores can be found in the states of California and Washington, as well as in the Philippines, Singapore, and Japan. Thank you for watching. If you like this content, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Thanks.